a non-obvious lesson was that everybody's really struggling and everything is broken at the beginning, and it's totally okay. You know, you think that you're the only one who is having like a quote unquote broken company.
This is another episode of the Form Your Own Pack podcast from Founders Pack. My guest today is Adar Hay from Giga. Hopefully I pronounced all those things correctly.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. All right. Adar is co-founder of Giga. And for people that don't know, who is Adar and what is Giga?
So nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you for hosting me today. We make it easy for engineers to purchase manufactured parts. Today, it's a very manual and inefficient process. A lot of emails that engineers have to send to suppliers, update data manually in spreadsheets. So we make this workflow automated, digital, data-driven, which helps companies save a lot of time and money.
Amazing. Okay, so what was the big problem that you encountered that motivated you to start this?
So we saw, and this came from one of my co-founders. He was a manufacturer himself. He was a CEO of a manufacturing company, and he saw how many emails does he have to respond to and start managing. And he said, probably my customers are experiencing that as well. And this is how we started. We started iterating on that idea. And when we started researching it, we saw how big of a problem it is, and that some companies are just not aware of, some purchasing managers are not aware of. It's like something that's not working today, that's just the way it is. And we set out to solve it.
And you guys are a YC backed company, I think, right?
Yes.
Which cohort were you guys in?
Winter 21.
Oh, okay. So not too long ago. What was that experience like?
It was great. It was remote. So I think right now they're back to do it face to face, but definitely was really helpful. Met a lot of great founders and got a lot of great exposure. Still engaging with the YC community, so been very helpful for us, definitely.
That's a good segue. So I guess, if you can expand upon that, what sort of role has community or allies and alliances played in your startup so far?
You mean like the YC community or communities in general?
In general, or YC can be part of that.
Yeah, so during YC, we met a lot of founders and also clients, our first customers, companies that we've been using in order to grow our business, marketing tools, content tools. We still use a lot of such tools. So it's a great way to benefit from each other and also learn from others' experiences. I think that one of the things that was really a non-obvious lesson was that everybody's really struggling and everything is broken at the beginning, and it's totally okay. You know, you think that you're the only one who is having like a quote unquote broken company when you set out to start, but the reality is that everyone is facing like the same struggles, the same problems, and it makes you feel all right, like you're not alone in this, because everything you see in the press is like they are amazing, they have this and this client, they are quickly growing and everything is fine with them. But when you really talk in an honest conversation, you understand that they have many problems and it's definitely okay.
I love that. Yeah, and the reason we ask is because one of the big themes of the theme of the podcast, Form Your Own Pack, says like entrepreneurship is not a straight line and it's difficult. So form allies, alliances, and community to help you along the way. So that's great feedback. So just to set the expectation of why I asked that. All right. So how did you find your first client actually? Was that through the community or was it something else?
Our first client came from, he would just seek the solution to that problem, and he asked around, and someone who saw us online referred him to what we were doing, and he was willing to, he knew that it was a new company, and he was willing to take the chance, and now he's very happy and large customer, always like
Oh, great.
buying new licenses. So that's very exciting. And yeah, that was our first client. It wasn't easy to acquire them and develop the product as we go according to their feedback. But definitely a good way to start.
I love it. That's a great way to find your first client, and I'm glad that you still have them. Okay, so if you could offer other founders one piece of advice around product, what would that be?
Around product. So I think you will have to be brutally honest about what's working and what's not. It's very easy to um, hear some feedback from a customer and build some huge feature that's straying you away from your focus. And it's very easy to say focus, but actually being focused on your core value proposition is really hard, and you constantly have to think like, what is an important addition to the product, what's currently is within our scope and what's not. And it's not like there's no one answer. Sometimes a customer or a feedback or something that you discovered could be like your big idea, but sometimes it's straying you off. It takes your product to a place where you don't want to be, and this is the place where you should say stop and maybe even kill parts of your product that are not working well, even if you put a lot of time and effort on them. And this was really hard to do for us, but it's definitely important for you to keep staying in focus, because you can't build that three-headed monster or five-headed monster that goes to different directions. That's not the way to do it.
That's really great advice. I've helped a lot of startups build either SaaS or apps over the last 10 years. And I think the one thing that I've learned is that, which is everyone tries, or not everyone, but the worst products are like a Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
And they're just trying to throw everything in there and hope. And I like your advice, which is, have a vision, stay focused on the core functionality, because I think that's the most successful products are maybe a little bit narrower. And that's, I think, what you're trying to accomplish by being focused on one set of features and one niche.
Exactly, especially in the beginning. I mean, vision wise, you can do everything. You can be like Amazon, starting from bookstore to selling servers, but not in the beginning. If Amazon would start AWS in parallel with selling books, it wouldn't work. So
Right.
You'll have to start with something that works really well, that sticks into a very big problem or need, and be honest with yourself if that's a big enough need, and just stick on solving that and adding value to that core focus.
That's another good segue, which, one of the big milestones for startups like yourself is this concept of product market fit. And I think that the term has become a little bit, it's made it like where we can gloss over it just by saying the words. So for Giga, what is product market fit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that this term is very elusive and very sneaky, and I think it's very confusing to many founders that I talk to, because not always you'll have that point where you're like, yeah, now we are here, now we're a product market fit, now we're not. But it's more of like a process of solving small things. At least for us, it was like the process of solving small things one after another. So you will have to figure out the right pricing structure. You'll have to figure out the right features. You have to figure out even the right person, the ICP, the right person to sell to, and what to tell them, and how should the product look to be good enough to be sold to these customers. So for example, for us, we had to solve a lot of things inside the product which added this level of trust, that they could even trust the product, because it was not enough for us to be able to solve the problem to a certain point, but we had to add different things to make the product look professional enough. These are traditional businesses, so they had to trust us. So these are all of these kind of things that you have to solve along the process in order to get to that point where people are actually interested in buying from you and interested in, and you're solving that way of getting more people to be interested in your product. So a lot of different things to solve.
Love it. That's great feedback. All right. So I'm going to wrap with two quick questions, Adar. Thanks for joining me today. It's been really interesting to learn, and we're interested in following your journey as you go. How do people get in touch with you?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm Adar Hay, Adarhay. So you can drop me a note there. And my email is adar.giga@giga.io. So you can reach me out via email as well.
Beautiful. And we will include that in the show notes. The final thing is, and we have interesting people on the Founders Pack, Form Your Own Pack podcast, we like you to nominate other interesting people. And as you know, we talk to both founders and investors in scalable ventures. So who would you, Adar, like to nominate as a future guest?
Oh, wow. Actually, I have a lot of people in mind. Maybe you can talk to Bar from Balance. I think that what they do is really interesting. They deal with B2B payments.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot of things that he talks about, I really resonate with, about B2B marketplaces and the way that B2B transactions are going to change. So these are the things that we're also talking about. And I think we will be very interesting to talk to him.
Wonderful. Okay, Bar from Balance, you've been nominated by Adar to be a future guest. Thanks, Adar, for joining us today. We look forward to following your journey.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. It was fun.